My guest today is John Vitti, who is the CEO of versusgame, an innovative prediction-based gaming app that has already given away millions in cash winnings to millions of influencers, content creators, and users who utilize their platform. John used his entrepreneurial endeavors to positively impact the mental health of all the people who play his games. Welcome to Lifeology.
James, thank you for having me. It's a luxury to be here.
I'm really looking forward to this. And I was reading about all the millions you've given away. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm a content creator. I would like to be a part of this as well. So I'm looking forward to hearing more about all this as well. Now, you have done so many things. The person with whom I'm speaking today is probably not the person who started this journey. How did you get into the entrepreneurial sphere or world?
That's very different. Every day we hope to grow, right? So,
yes, we certainly do.
My backstory, I have to give some credit to where credit's due, and it's all tied together, so bear with me. But my parents were born and raised on a farm in Italy. No running water, no electricity, came over in a boat. I was born in a basement in Boston, lived and grew up there. So I have absolutely lived and seen both sides of things, and I have some interesting perspective. But growing up, there was always that world of the have and have-nots. Mm-hmm. Also, I didn't know at the time. I was just observing, but it really stuck deep inside my bones. But my father, the education, whatever, was different. Yeah. He was always laid off of jobs frequently. So I would either not see him at all or see him all the time. And that really affected me later. I was like, wow, I had to be in control of my own destiny. And so I was like, I started trying to work for other people. I had a gig before this, and I was doing really well, but I was, young, stupid, had an entrepreneur mindset, thought I could do things bigger and better and differently, whatever. The hallmarks of an entrepreneur, right? So I went off my own and started 4 companies before this. So I have to control my destiny. I have to be the one doing it and follow my own sword and extreme ownership, right? For me, that was because of that upbringing, because I saw the have and have-nots, and because of all this water cooler talk of, Zuckerberg's going to do this, LinkedIn's going to IPO, he didn't get into, Google when it launched, whatever, and most people can't enjoy Wall Street because you already have to have money to make money there. So I was like, oh man, all this came together and really birthed versusgame, which is a prediction game where you get rewarded for being right. So I'm trying to put real money in real people's pockets and saying, hey, it doesn't matter how much money you have in your bank account. It matters what you know. That should dictate how much money you have in your bank account. We're a level the playing field.
I like that. I like that a lot. It's interesting. There's little similarities here. Like I grew up, I'm American, but I grew up in Canada. My parents had a rustic fishing resort. So we had no electricity. We had a generator for like 4 hours a day. And so like 5 months I'd live there, and then I'd come back to the States and I'm trying to reconnect. Like, what is all this electricity? So I obviously think that's the way your parents did, or you did, but it's some similarities in that respect too. As an entrepreneur, I get it because you see different sides of things. My parents did the best they could, and they give me so much in so many different ways. But there is this aspect of, I want to be in charge of my destiny. I want to be able to do something on my time. And that's how I created Lifeology, probably the same way as you, is I wanted to do whatever it is I wanted to do, wherever it was I wanted to do, but I wanted to be able to do it with, on my terms. And so that sounds exactly like what you did. That's probably why we're going to vibe so much. Now, when it comes to versusgame, I was reading more about it, and it says, exactly like you said, you take whatever the current trends are in pop culture and whatever it is, and your algorithm uses that to see who's in the know in the moment. Is that correct?
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So it's a prediction game where we're letting people predict the outcome of culture. Whatever is trending, whatever is going on in the universe. It could be a TV show, a podcast, the weather, traffic, whatever's going, crypto, whatever's going on in the world. And our influencers and celebrities, and losers like me can actually go and actually host a question, ask a question, share with their audience.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we share our revenue with them. And some of them are making a lot of money, and then the players at home can make money too for, all those books that we've all probably read, which is like,
Choose Your Own Adventure.
Make money off of make money off of your passions. Do what you love.
Yeah.
Like, that's a lot of bullshit, actually.
It is, I get it.
Yeah.
It can be hard,
Where can you go and do that? So versusgame, you actually, let's say if you watch 1,000 hours of TV or play video games, like you could actually make money off of using that knowledge, off of these predictions. So it's really cool and wild to see.
Well, maybe think about this. So you say you get to predict the outcome. So is that you almost like, I don't know if you heard me say like choose your own adventure type of thing. Is that where they create the question and then do you get to predict what the answer will be, or do you have to wait till actual real time it happens?
The latter. So somebody asks the question like Drake versus Kanye, which song will be higher up in the charts on the Billboard charts by tomorrow at noon? So we go and play. We match up kind of like Tinder, right? One versus one. And then we wait until tomorrow at noon. And then that real life event happens. And then James, you won because Drake's song is higher up in the charts, let's say.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, all right. That's really cool. Okay. That makes a lot more sense. I was like, well, is this like a fantasy type of thing? But yeah, that does make a lot of sense. So it can really be about anything then, right? It can be anything that's happening in the world. It doesn't have to be specifically for entertainment. It can be anything.
Oh no, it's anything. Yeah. And whatever is trending in the universe, whatever you're into, because it's user generated content, it's the people create the trends. They're creating these topics.
So how does, let's say, okay, so I've never obviously played this. So let's say I come into your website, versusgame.com, I believe. I come in there and then how do I set it up? Do I have to pay into it? How does that work?
Sure. Yeah. You can download the app or go to the mobile website and, you'll hear about it probably through a celebrity or an influencer or one of the brands like a Billboard or UFC. And then you'll like, I'm interested in that question. So you land on the app or on the site, right?
Okay.
So the user journey is, I want to play this and I can play it for free and for fun. And that's it. You sign up, of course. And then if you want to actually play for some coins that you can transfer out to real money, then you would deposit. You're basically buying utility in the site, which is ability to play certain games, things like that. So it's all microtransactions.
Oh, perfect. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. One thing I believe, if I remember correctly, obviously correct me if I'm wrong, was during the pandemic, during 2020, it wasn't this a time when you're like, many people may be twiddling their thumbs, and I say that respectfully because it was a hard, difficult time for many people. But is that around the time when you created this company? Yeah,
we launched in 2019, and it really started taking off. Okay. Yeah. We really started taking off in 2020 when one of our investors, Roblox, because we were building our own games like questions ourselves through this automated technology with no humans. But then Roblox was like, John, build a self-serve model and get out of your own way. Let anybody create questions, share it with their audience, and then give them a cut of our revenue. So it's a user-generated content type of world. So that's the big inflection point we had, which was during the pandemic.
Wow, that is really good. Do you have any? Well, I'm sure you have many reviews, but do you know of any reviews off the top of your head of what people have said about this game? Totally putting you in a spot here.
Oh yeah, I mean all kinds of stuff. Like because they're making a bunch of money, they're like, I want to get paid more, like paid out more. Some things are like, I've had gifts. We've gotten people like, I got this car because of you now, right? My car was broken down. Really cool. I went back to school. I'm a single mother. We had one guy who was an editor at one of the most famous publications in the world, quit his job to do podcasts. As he was doing podcasts as a side business, he was able to quit his job because of all the money and revenue he made through hosting. Yeah, it's wild. One guy makes $620,000 in 2.5 months. It's just amazing to see what their lives, what happens when you invest in yourself and in what you love to do, and Versus lets you is the catalyst for is the platform for that, and it's really cool to see what happens to them after.
It's I know it's just like you said before. We read all those self-help books, and I have my own self-help books, so I can't say much about that industry because I'm in that world. But there is, you're right. Sometimes there's a lot of books, a lot of content, but you're right. Sometimes that can be almost like a glass ceiling that many people hit because they don't know how to do that. So yeah, the books may tell them how to do that, but everyone is user specific. And so my dreams may be different than what this book says. So it sounds like this is a great platform, especially if it's something content people already know and something they're excited about. More than likely they would be the expert in that particular niche.
Yeah, it's like, how do you apply it to your life, right? And I think we just made it really simple. And the important thing for me was I didn't want to create a new human behavior. I wanted to support and enhance what you're already doing. So this is already your habit. We built a product. We built a product around that.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, is this specifically for all types of people, all ages, all demographics?
Yeah, all demographics. We're, our creators that are on the platform, we're trying to be even more diverse, but it's pretty diverse. We've got a 33%, diversity, and that's something that we actually look for and look to push. But yeah, it's all types of people, all walks of life. It's the people that are on this platform are heavy consumers, and sometimes that means lower class, middle class. As far as the demographic, because rich people already know how to make a lot of money, but they're also coming on this platform. But it's really to level the playing field.
Yeah, it sounds like that. Wow.
Yeah, because most people can't, own a piece of Cardi B or Tesla or Google. That ship has sailed, or it's impossible, right?
Yeah.
But we're the ones talking about all these brands and building them all up and talking about Tesla and talking about and using these apps. Why aren't we getting a piece of this too?
That's a good point. It's, when you were saying about when they were talking about LinkedIn and this and that, and it's just like, as an entrepreneur, when I hear those things like, oh, I missed it. And you get all this sadness, like, oh crap, man, my life is over. Or it's, I missed out on, that ship or sailed, like you said. So it's good to hear that at any level that people, I guess, buy into this, however much they want to put into that they are able to do it buy into whatever is specific for their income stream already. So it's nothing that it could be buying Starbucks or something.
Yeah, it's something. It's our average dollar wager size is $1. Most people play for fun and for free, and you can actually play and grind away and win money and never put money in. So
interesting.
Totally
that's great.
Yeah, it's fair.
That's good to know.
I didn't grow up with having this fair and fun. It wasn't always fair and fun for me. So I want to make sure that we built this world that's fair and fun, because the dichotomy of being unfair and stressed out, that world already exists, right?
Yes, it does. Yeah. First of all, how did you even come up with this idea?
So the genesis behind it was, there's a twofold. One is that we consume so much content all day long. We naturally form opinions and predictions off that content. It's our reptilian primal part of the brain. We can't stop. It's fun, right? It's already your habit. So, and I don't know what you're into, James, but besides, obviously, I know you work out. But when was the last time you were watching your favorite TV show or listening to your favorite podcast? And you're like, oh, I bet this is going to happen. And then you were rewarded for that, right? Probably never.
That's a good point.
Right? Yeah. We do it all the time. I was watching Obi-Wan on Disney last night, and we're all like, oh, I bet this is going to happen, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh my God, this is what we do all day long. So that's one piece. And then the other piece is what I've been talking about, which is, the have and have nots. Let's put real money in real people's pockets. Let's help people out. Let's help each other out. Let's all get better.
It's interesting. You're right. Because it's funny. If I'm watching a movie with someone and that person talks, I'm like, oh man, shut up. I want to watch the movie. Even though I'm thinking the same thing, but I don't speak it aloud. But you're right. We do that predictive aspect all the time. And which is, that's great that you've found a way to capitalize on that, not only for you, but for the people that play the games as well. I was going to ask you okay. So I guess the way I'm thinking this aloud is, since anyone in any level can come in and play this game, any topic at all, just like you said, we were watching this Disney show last night, it can be anything that people would know about. Okay, so that's good to know. I mean, it seems like the sky's the limit when it comes to the questions that can be asked, specifically for whatever content you're into.
You could literally be driving in LA and you see traffic, or you're like, oh my God, there's no traffic. Whatever it is, you could come up with a question about the traffic, about weather, about stocks. It's whatever you want to do,
Wow. How did you get a lot of the celebrities to work with you?
We've had some really interesting, amazing, legendary investors that helped. We also just that really kind of dominoed effect a lot of relationships, if you will. So they were like, hey, talk to this person, talk to this celebrity, talk to this influencer. And then once we get a couple of those, we build case studies around them. Just normal blocking and tackling type of business. And then it's like, okay, well, hey, and then all of a sudden the cool thing with influencers is that when they post, well, guess who follows influencers and celebrities? Other influencers and celebrities. Exactly. Like, what the hell is this? Are you making money on this? And it's a whole new revenue stream for everybody that's ad free. And it's a whole, it's
free. That's great.
Yeah, it's true engagement. When's the last time you played a game with your favorite podcaster or celebrity or influencer?
Yeah. Oh, so that's a great thing. So can you actually interact with a celebrity or podcast or influencer?
Yeah,
or is it just more just a question, they respond?
they're asking a question, they're hosting the question, you play along with them, and then you actually can comment, you can like, you can DM them on the platform as well, and everyone's just having fun, you know.
Yeah, and I can't imagine anyone that would be playing that wouldn't have fun. And so I'm assuming all the influencers and celebrities that are on there are going to be very kind in the first place. I mean, which is great. I mean, that creates a really fun environment, and that's really, like you said, everyone's there for the same reason. Everyone wants to have fun and to play the game, and so I can definitely see how this would be something everyone wants to be a part of.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think about that. The weird byproduct is that there's more nice than sometimes you see on pure social platforms. Yeah, I mean, everyone has their own agenda, but it's like, hey, we're all going for the same goal here. You know, it's interesting.
Yeah. I'm sure it would keep it. Yeah, I'm sure it would keep it pretty PG, if you will, as far as everyone's like, oh, this is great. You know, maybe razzing a couple little bit people, but that's, you know, obviously
it's competitive.
That's fun and
too.
Yeah, and that's fun and that's safe and that's good. Excellent. Are there any I'm not meaning to put you on the spot here, but are there parental controls at all for some parents? Because I know that some of my parents would be like, I'm interested in this, but is there anything that my kids should be aware of?
Oh yeah. So you can be at any age to play for free, but if you play for money, you have to be 18 years and up. Absolutely.
Good. Perfect.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, that's great. Because I'm sure a lot of my listeners or the parents are going to be like, oh, that sounds great, but I do want to make sure there's governors on there for that. So good.
Oh, yeah.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, that's a really good.
I've even had, a small anecdote story here. I've had a very important investor that everyone probably knows. He's like, I got my son who's 14. He's on TikTok. He's making no money, but he spends hours on there. Can he get on Versus Game? I'm like, how old is he? He's like 14. I was like, no. But it's cool that desire's there, you know?
Yeah, that is great. Yeah, that is great. And it is good that you have that, like I said, there's parental aspects of it, because as some of my patients in the past, have got a hold of the parents' credit cards, and that has gone awry pretty bad. So yeah, I'm glad to hear that. Sure. Now you've done so many things. I know you had 4 other companies before this. What streams were they? What kind of companies were they?
Oh my God. Okay, I usually talk about the last 2 because the first 2, it's embarrassing.
That's good. That's fine. That's fine.
No, I'll get to it. The first one was, Italian, love food. I love to cook. So it was a pasta making company, and it was in San Francisco, and I would make the pasta myself, and I'd walk around, distribute it, and I would sell it to local small grocery stores and restaurants, high-end restaurants. And I found out real quick that it's impossible to scale that because it's me doing everything, and it's very labor intensive.
Yes.
The second thing, plus I ate a lot of the good product. The second was
I would do the same thing.
Yeah. The second one was a recruiting company that my friends wanted to start, and I was like, I'll jump in and I'll help manage it. And they were doing their normal jobs too. This was a side business for them, and I found out that timing is everything, and the right team is everything. So that folded. Those both failed miserably. My last 2 I successfully exited. But I wouldn't have if I didn't experience the first 2 failures. One was in consumer space. It was actually men's clothing. It was apparel. And we had stores all over the world, Asia, Dubai, Europe, and tankers and distribution everywhere. And that was fun. And the hardest business actually I've ever been in. Then the last business before this switched gears to a hardcore tech business. We were automating sales. It was a lot of heavy machine learning AI. We were automating sales for our clients like Google, Facebook, Microsoft, Yellow Pages, Yahoo. And then the whole time, though, all this water cooler talk and all the have and have-nots, and the world is becoming more bifurcated as far as the have and have-notters. Sure. That's when I was like, I've had Versus Game idea for about 18 years now in my mind.
Wow.
And after the last sale in my last company, I was like, I got to do this thing.
That's fantastic. And you said about the timing, you had the perfect timing. I mean, everybody, it sounds like it's really thriving and it's growing and obviously becoming bigger and bigger and bigger, which is fantastic. So that's great. Great for you as an entrepreneur. But I like what you said. You couldn't have done the last 2 out of the 4 if you hadn't gone through the first 2. And that is important because as an entrepreneur, we're going to get it right. Sometimes we're not going to get it right. So, and it's everything is a learning lesson. And so the more we can assimilate those lessons and crystallize it within ourselves, we realize, yes, I can learn from that and grow more exponentially.
I think. So I was teaching I taught my first class at Chapman University down in LA.
Okay.
I know, it's crazy. I just did a guest, lecture, and it was like, yo, who here? I kind of shocked them a little bit. Like, being an entrepreneur sucks. I was like, who here, when they were a kid or right now when they're at the studies, like wants to graduate and their dream was to be an insomniac, lose their friends, lose their partners, like have bad eating, like have no social life, have no balanced life, whatever, right? And have no idea where the paycheck's coming from, having no map, blah, blah, blah. And everyone's like, no. I'm like, then you're not going to be an entrepreneur. Like, you have to embrace all that shit, right? And
yes,
because you have to go through it so you can figure it out. There's no book you can read. There's no class you can sit in to learn how to do this, start a company.
Yeah. It's very true. And that's, I know when I started lifeology, I mean, I knew obviously a lot in the psychology world. That was my practice for many years. But then the whole aspect of, I was in television and films when I was younger, but when it came to me actually doing all this, I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. And so it is that whole aspect of, I'd be up, I'm sure you've done this as well. And a lot of my other listeners or viewers, I'd be up all night. And the only light that's on is just for my computer. I'm like, oh, what time is it? I'm like, it's like 2 a.m. I'm like, what? I have to get up at 5 a.m. So, I'm sure you can deal with that as well. I realize that as well, but it is something that it is sweat equity that you have to put in. And so the more you put in, there is a trade-off. You have to really figure out what does quality of life mean as you create this, as you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And sometimes people forget about quality of life because they can lose their partners, they can lose whatever. Yeah. And that there is a trade-off, but there also has to be a balance in some way.
This thing you do at night and you're just up all night, it's because you have a drive. You're on a mission. You can't not do this thing. Right.
Yeah.
So that makes you quit your job. That makes you do this thing and makes you go through the hard days. That gets you by.
Yes.
You have no choice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's awesome to be a psychologist because I'm a huge fan of human behavior. I'm a huge.
Well, I would say with your predictive, you've done a fantastic job capitalizing that with your company. So you did a fantastic job of that.
Yeah.
Our time is. You what?
I just love learning about my own brain and other people's brains. That's all. Yeah.
I know, exactly. Well, unfortunately, our time is up. We literally flew by. If my listeners want to find out more information about you and to learn more about your game, to play your game, where will they find all this information online? Yeah,
go to the App Store, download Versus Game, go to the mobile website, or go to Instagram at Versus Game and enjoy.
Wonderful. My listeners and viewers also know that if I cannot find this information any other place, simply go to the show notes at jamesmillerlifeology.com. I'll have all of John's information for Versus Game. John, thank you so much for being a fantastic guest on my show today. I had a really great time with you.
Thank you, James. Appreciate you.